So welcome to Room to Improve, Innovation in Home Adaptations. My name's Laura Wood. I am the Marketing Director at Invisible Creations. Super excited to be here and host this session. This session will explore the future of home adaptations through new innovative approaches to the design of products and places. And I'm delighted to be joined by two amazing women. We've got Yvonne Castle, who is the Chief Exec at Johnnie Housing Trust. And we've also got Lucy Rogers, who is an occupational therapist at In-House OT. They're going to share a little bit about their experiences of the benefits of designing more inclusive and desirable age-friendly homes. So I'm going to hand over first to Yvonne, who is going to give you a little bit of background of Johnnie Johnson, and she'll take you through the journey that they've had to create more inclusive environments for their tenants. Thanks, Yvonne.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I can see from the attendees list that people are coming in thick and fast. So I'd echo what Laura said, just a massive thank you. It is 4:04 on a Tuesday, and I'm sure you've had a very hectic day. So thanks very much to that. I just wanted to say, as this is around innovation in adaptations, that I think the story of Invisible Creations actually captures the heart and minds. And you know, this slide here, actually I just love this slide and the picture of people. So it's not just about capturing hearts and minds, I think, but also about it makes business sense. And I think it makes business sense to residents. It makes business sense to our own businesses. And I think supporting that really is why I'm also chair of Invisible Creations. Alongside, we've got Carbon Homes and Anchor Hanover, so two other amazing organisations that have residents at the heart of what we all do. I think is fantastic that we've all come together to support that. So I'm going to talk about from a Johnnie Johnson point of view, and if we just click onto the next slide, what this shows is an Invisible Creations bathroom. And for us here, we've got 3 words on those slides that I just want to go through. It is very much a strategic approach for our business. It is very much about prevention of stigma, prevention of the health and well-being of people, so that they're not falling, they're not going into hospital, and that we are supporting them in every single way. And thirdly, around design. So if I think about Johnnie Johnson and our bathrooms, we have, say, a 30-year life on our bathrooms. We spend time going into our residents' home to improve those bathrooms as people age in their home. And actually, what we believe strategically that our Invisible Creations bathroom can do is support people as they age without even knowing it. So it stops us keep interfering and going in. So I think as well, you know, we want to do this work up front so that it helps us future-proof our bathrooms. It's functional, it's stylish, it can move through its life into that wet room. And so just if you look at the picture, I think, and it's an impressive picture that we'd all probably say, do you know what, let's have that in our own homes. Let's have that in our new builds. Let's have that as our planned programs for our bathrooms. And with ProCare and Invisible Creations, this has been designed, as I say, to future-proof. So support people, preventing them falling, supporting them from increasing their health and well-being, because the bathroom is a place that some residents find the scariest room of their home. Some people have, you know, more accidents in the bathroom than anywhere else. And so it's really important to us that this is a prevention approach as well. And our design for invisible creations is all about design for dignity. And I'm sure you've seen in social media our hashtags around design for dignity, which I think is really positive. So I just wanted to stress strategy, prevention, design is how ourselves at Johnnie Johnson view invisible creations. If we have a look at the next slide, so this is how it can look. And I just want to say a few words about Spey House, which is an independent living scheme. It's our largest independent living scheme that we have, at around 90 independent living homes. And we've done a full scale remodel of Spey to dementia friendly designs. It also has a whole host of links to aging better, and there's two things really, because one of them is invisible creations that we have got in our communal areas, and also technology enabled care. So when we talk about adaptations, these might be physical adaptations, but we also have digital adaptations, I believe, in technology enabled care. So we have our show flats that has various gadgets, some of them that support the environment and turning lights on and off, for example, but some of it does support the way that people can have access to our emergency 24/7 Astroline telecare service. So I think our bathrooms are really keen in how we want to look at our remodel schemes for the future. So just finally from me, if we go on to the next slide, I think this is a wonderful slide. Before I hand you over to Lucy, our occupational therapist. I'm sure for those of you that follow us on social media and that have listened to Laura over the life of not just the National Housing Federation's Greenhouse Project, but also the life of Invisible Creations as a standalone business, is Sheila. And we love Sheila, and you can see Sheila's got a thumbs down to the ugly, hideous grab rails, to the much more modern invisible creations. That smile on Sheila's face, I love every time I see it. And so this is the most important thing for me and for us at Johnnie Johnson, that we change the stigma to adaptations. There's such a lot of negative stigma with existing styles of, and I think that's one of the main things. People don't have adaptations in their own home often because they look the way they look. So let's change for the future the way that we all think about adaptations. And so this really is why we're so bought into it, and I think Sheila is as well. So just want to say thank you for that, and I'll hand you over to Lucy.
Thank you, Yvonne. In preparing for this presentation, I reflected on the 20+ years I've been working as an occupational therapist, and the one constant to all of my professional practice has been my goal to try and bridge the gap between social services, health and housing, because there is no denying that they are wholly dependent on each other and the success of each other. So over the next 10 minutes or so, I just want to reflect on the human side of accessible safe housing and its importance to an individual and also society as a whole. Now, a few figures just to put this into context. There are currently almost 500,000 households in England where someone aged over 65 with disabilities or long-term illness does not have the adaptations they need. Each year, over around 30% of people aged 65 and above and 50% of those aged 80 and above will experience a fall in the home. And falls are the reason for over half of hospital admissions for accidental injury and up to 25% of ambulance call-outs for those over the age of 65. Now, these figures really highlight the dangers and the consequences of inaccessible, unsafe homes. When you consider that the evidence shows that by installing minor home adaptations and making improvements to housing can lead to overall savings of at least £500 million each year to the NHS and to social care services in England. This would be achieved through a 26% reduction in falls, which actually accounts for over 4 million hospital bed days each year in England alone. Now, the home, that's what we're all talking about. That's what we're all focused on. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's rented or owned, a house, a bedsit or a flat. Our homes are practical and they're emotional. It's shelter, it's belonging, it's safety, comfort. It's our family, it's our pets. It's an asset. It's our independence. It's a place to relax. It represents our individuality and our tastes and our likes. I know for me, and I'm sure for you, your home must be paramount to your well-being. Well, as we age, what we want from homes also changes, and with each life stage. What I wanted out of my home when I was 18 is very different to what I want now. And I'm sure in another 20 years, it will be different again. So we hope that our homes will adapt and continue to fulfill and support us as our needs change. But what happens if they don't? For me as a healthcare professional, like I say, some 20 odd years now, I've lived and breathed the effects of poor and inappropriate housing on clients on a daily basis, be that because of aging or a life-changing incident that might have happened. I've seen the financial, the emotional, the mental and the physical effects of inaccessible and inappropriate housing and the effects it can have, and even in the extremes resulting in injuries and even in death. When we are physically well and we have no ailments, no problems, we all take our daily routines for granted. We grab a shower, we have a soak in the bath, we get dressed, we make a meal, going up and down the stairs, shopping, cooking, watching TV or hanging the washing up. But it's only when these simple tasks become more difficult or impossible to compete that life can become frustrating and upsetting. And this in turn can affect our confidence, our sense of self and impact on our overall quality of life. And in fact, can impact on every aspect of our life. Next slide, please, Laura. Thank you. I could share hundreds of stories of clients I've worked with, some good, some bad, some happy, some sad. From those who are trapped in hospital beds, unable to get home because of delays in getting the aids and the equipment they need, all the time being labelled as a bed blocker, something we hear all the time in the media, when all the clients wanted to do is to get back home. To those who can no longer access the garden or tend to it, to take the rubbish out, because the steps are too steep, they can't get in and out the back door or even the front door sometimes. They suffer a sense of grief and emotional turmoil, watching their beloved garden fall into rack and ruin, let alone never being able to sit outside and enjoy the sun. Just imagine for a moment what it'd be like not being able to wash yourself when you wanted, or worried about every time you needed to use the toilet, you couldn't get back off of it. Not being able to carry out the most basic of self-care tasks can leave individuals spiraling into anxiety and depression. Now let's face it, humans are also very, very good at hiding or adapting how they do things. Many people hide what they are struggling to do, or maybe what they can no longer do. Often this is because they don't want to ask for help, or they're struggling to accept the physical changes that might be happening to them. And sometimes it's just because they don't want ugly, medicalised rails and equipment in their home. I have many examples, like the man who said, "I've got no problems toileting at all." It turns out he could no longer get upstairs to use the flashing toilet, and he devised a very clever way to sit on a stool, placing the newspaper on the floor, and he would defecate on that, and then he would wrap it up nicely and put it in his rubbish bin. But for him, he had adapted, and for him, he had no problems toileting. Or the lady who had no mobility problems, but when I met her, she crawled up the stairs on her hands and knees and then had to crawl to her bedroom where she could use her bed to help push herself up into standing. Or the lady I saw after a fall and a long stay in hospital, who had no problem standing up. Apart from that pesky wash hand basin that she'd been using for years, finally came off the wall, landing on top of her and fracturing her wrist and ending up in hospital. The fact is, Most aids and adaptations continue to be installed on the back of a trigger or an incident like this last lady I mentioned, rarely by choice or desire, and almost never fitting in with the home decor. Remember this. Imagine if you ever had a fall and someone comes into your house and says, I can make this all better for you. All you have to do is say yes to having some great big metal rails drilled in at your front door, or some lovely bright white rails to be put in your bathroom, to be drilled into your beautifully newly tiled bathroom, totally not fitting in with your chosen colour scheme. Oh, and they don't come in different colours either. I'm sure you can understand why people are resistant or often refuse. I've had many aids and adaptations refused over the years because of the way they look and how they made someone feel. I've also visited homes where only to find the equipment that's been provided gathering dust in the corner or being used as a clothes hanger. The one that I always love to see is probably 9 times out of 10 you go down to somebody's house who has a care alarm, you know, the ones that you wear around the neck. And if they're not wearing it when they open their front door, you can almost bet it's sitting on their bedside table or hidden in the kitchen drawer somewhere, never to be seen and definitely never to be worn. Next slide, please. It's been found in multiple studies that people delay making vital changes to their homes because of the clinical appearance of adaptations and their association with vulnerability and loss of independence. Often by the time a support rail or aid is provided, an accident has already happened, physical damage has already been done, and the confidence has already been lost. There's such strong evidence that home adaptations, particularly small ones, can improve outcomes of quality of life for those in later in life. They are effective and they are cost effective, especially in preventing falls and injuries, particularly if they're delivered on time and they're delivered and wanted. Next one, please, Laura. It was 13 years ago, and that's a long time, that Hayward and Turner carried out some research, and they reported that the benefits of adapting the home are recognised as an effective way to improve the health and well-being of older people and disabled adults and children. A more accessible home environment can improve independence, reduce risk, and reduce reliance on assistance. As the body of evidence demonstrating the benefits of home adaptation grows, so does the recognition that the sooner they are installed, the greater will be the preventative benefits. And this is what is so important, that it should not be done on the back of an incident, and really thinking about the home and what's important. There's a more recent study by the Public Health England, which was in 2018, was actually on falls prevention. And there's some remarkable figures that came out of this. It found that some home adaptations resulted in a financial return of investment of £3.17 for every pound spent. But even more than that, the estimated social return of investment, which includes the impact of adaptation on overall well-being, is a whopping great big £7.23 for every £1 spent. Now that sounds like a good investment to me. There are hundreds of research articles on this subject, all heralding the relationship between physical, mental health, housing, and the effects on social care and the NHS. But in reality, and in my experience, there is still a huge gaping hole where joined up thinking and actual change is happening in practice. Isn't it about time we move to a more inclusive and preventative approach to design, to destigmatise, demedicalise the aids, which will help assist someone to remain healthy, happy, and in their own home? Appropriate and aesthetically designed adaptations should and can enhance the home, not detract from it. They can benefit someone's life in so many ways, not just their physical abilities and independence, but also their emotional well-being and overall quality of life. In the context that over 90% of older people live in mainstream homes, and 80% of the homes we will be living in by 2050 are already built, this seems like a no-brainer. So, why can't adaptations be positive and talked about like a new addition to the home, like a new sofa or a kitchen? After all, it wasn't so long ago that voice-activated assistance around the home was called environmental controlled systems, and now we're on first-name terms with Alexa. Why shouldn't we all sit in the shower to wash our feet and save our legs? I know it makes my life a lot easier. This is why I'm proud to be working with Invisible Creations, who design for dignity. They are working in partnership with numerous forward-thinking housing providers to provide suitable, attractive, dual-purpose aids, which will enable people to seamlessly age in their own homes with simple, well-designed, amazingly effective products, which will support people as their function and mobility changes. The benefits are so much more than financial. The sense of well-being and improved mental and physical health can impact hugely on someone's quality of life and can be life-changing and life-saving. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Yvonne. I think there's a lot of really strong elements that came out in both of those presentations there, in terms of moving towards a better model, moving towards an approach that puts things like strategy and prevention and good quality design at the heart of our adaptations processes within the housing sector. One thing I should have said earlier, we've got the chat box and the Q&A box. We have got time at the end for questions. So if anyone has got any, then Lucy and Yvonne would be happy to kind of answer any questions anyone has. I think just kind of in the meantime, while we're waiting for any questions to come through, some of the things that resonated really strongly with me from the two speakers that we've had today is that kind of concept of the home. And actually, we've probably interacted with our home in a lot of different ways than we would normally over the last few months. And it's probably made us think a little bit differently as to, are our homes really fit for the needs that we've got? And a home is so many different things to so many people. But I think, you know, the one thing that we don't want our home to be is a hospital. And a lot of this equipment that is currently out there is very clinical and is very stigmatized. And our home should be a haven, not a hospital. So I think, you know, that's what we're trying to achieve at Invisible Creations. And it's great to see from an occupational therapist's point of view that Lucy has brought in there, that there is a lot of stigma attached and people do make dangerous decisions that could potentially damage their health. There is a real need to move to a more inclusive model. And it's fantastic to see kind of from Yvonne's point of view that actually from a housing association, what are the benefits that Yvonne is seeing within Johnnie Johnson by moving to this kind of new strategic preventative approach. I think we got anything? We haven't got anything through question wise. I'm guessing it's just because you two did such a great job and covered so many things that no one has got any particular questions. I don't know whether there's anything else, Lucy, Yvonne, you wanted to add to the session. I know we have got an exhibition stand with ProCare at the event, so I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I didn't plug that. So if people can go along, we do have a couple of things there for you to see the product range and how we're moving to that more inclusive model.
The only thing I was going to say, really, I genuinely would love to hear what people think of the products. And one of the things, you know, we talk about Sheila, don't we, Laura? And we love Sheila, and Gabby, you're absolutely right. She is the best. I always think about my mum-in-law. My mum-in-law is 89, and she's getting smaller and smaller and frailer by the day. And I know the one thing that probably I should have said, again, I'd be really interested what the audience think, is as well as the whole approach to dignity, and what Lucy was saying is people don't put these in their homes if they don't think they're attractive. People don't want to invite folk back to their homes if they think that, you know, it's shouting out and screaming out, you know, I'm really frail and vulnerable. Actually, it's the safety angle that I know my mum-in-law, she's always thinking about being safe in a home. And so you know, we try as well as Johnnie Johnson to sort of get that message across. So I just wanted to share that. There's a question coming through, Laura, there.
Yeah, so we've got a couple that have come through. So I can take the significant price difference question. So there isn't a significant price difference. There obviously is a difference because it's a much higher quality product. It's something that you can put into homes and it will last. It will stay in there for the life cycle of the bathroom. One of the things that we are working on is a cost benefit analysis. So actually one of the things that we get told very often from housing associations is that a lot of the time they're putting these adaptations, these cheap plastic adaptations in, that person moves away from the property. It could be someone like me that comes along and says, I would love that property, but actually I don't want any of those adaptations, so they get removed. And it's that cost of labour that actually added up over time could be costing the housing association quite a lot of money. Putting our products in, that one-time investment up front, actually is saving that labour cost over time. Happy to share any of the price information. If you want to kind of drop us an email, you can do that through the message, through the platform. We can share that. So it isn't significant. I think people look at these products and think they look very high end, they're going to be really expensive. But one of the things we've worked really hard on is making sure that these products are accessible and affordable. And we've had really great reaction from all of the housing associations that we've spoken to on that kind of cost benefit analysis that we're looking at. We've had, are you putting adaptations in before needed at a design stage? So I guess, Yvonne, you could probably talk about the fact that you are doing that within your bathroom replacement programs at Johnnie Johnson.
Yes, certainly, and I can link it to Janet's question about paying for the products just from our perspective, but obviously other people that are starting to get these in their homes might have a different way. So there's also there a question about a key safe box, which I think we are moving on, but we are putting in our adaptation in our voids properties. That's where we're starting from. They will go into our new builds in the ones that we've just started building our new properties, but we're actually now are starting to put them in all our voids. And also, so say for example Spare House, which we've done, we've put them in the communal areas, the communal facilities and the relaxation suites that we have. So that's gone in, but certainly in our void. So that's irrespective of age, of prospective tenancy. But yes, absolutely, because from that cost benefit scenario, because of the people that we generally tend to house, they are an aging population. So, you know, whichever way, whether they need it now or whether they're likely to need it in the next few years, it's going in now. And just from that, who pays for the product from a Johnnie Johnson perspective, because it's you know, the scale of the product is so relatively, compared to the cost of a void, cheap. We are funding those at this point. So I guess some of you'll have where you're reactively putting in adaptations and you link through into local authorities, I'm guessing potentially, but for us at this point, they're going in our voids. We will be working with the local authorities on adaptations where retrospectively they're going in as a matter of course, but we're trying to take that preventative strategic approach. So I hope that's helpful there. Laura, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry, didn't get myself off mute then. I think there was a question from Gabby as well. And thanks, Gabby. I love the products. I think that's brilliant. That's awesome feedback. And then she said, putting on my digital tech hat, do you see any future for useful tech data that can help people to live with dignity and independently much longer with confidence? Are you already using some tech? And I know, again, from a Johnnie Johnson point of view, you're quite big on the tech and the data, and you're quite innovative in terms of that area. So again, I don't know whether you want to kind of add to that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that's something that we're trying to encourage all our shall we say, all our colleague housing associations that also do technology enabled care. It's a big thing for us at Johnnie Johnson, and we do it nationally across the country for others, but we absolutely are starting to look at data, and I think data is the key. And that's with health providers as well as families and next of kins, as well as customers if they're interested in looking at the data. Sometimes what we're doing is working with the next of kin to look at that data, but it links into what Lucy says, you know, where we can be proactive and preventative. to support people looking at their own health, we will. So I think technology enabled care, as well as an adaptation, physical adaptation, such as in invisible creations, I think is really powerful for the aging population, powerful for but the benefits that we can bring to our residents as housing organisations, but also very powerful to the health sector and the care sector and GPs.
Thanks, Yvonne. And then we had something through from Debbie. One argument I hear a lot is that families with children would prefer a bath, hence having to remove adaptations with a tenancy change. So one thing that Johnnie Johnson are doing through the work of Invisible Creations and ProCare is actually kind of putting in a blueprint footprint for a bathroom that is very easy to change with the tenant. So actually you create a design which is very cost effective to be able to change that from a bathroom to a wet room, from a wet room to a bathroom, because of the footprint that you create. The products are strategically placed to make it really simple and really cost effective to change between those two things. We have got more information on that, and there is a video that shows that really quick, easy transition. And Spare House has actually been set up in that exact kind of scenario. So that's an example of kind of how that bathroom can really easily change. And there was kind of just a comment around kind of tenants and residents should be picking kind of colour scheme. I think that's a really kind of relevant point for choice, providing choice. And I think Lucy kind of touched upon this in terms of there isn't a lot of choice. You know, it's generally just a white plastic grab rail that you'll get, and that's not really good enough for the offer that we should be giving our tenants. There should be a choice. There should be a sense of real ownership over their home, whether it's owned or whether it's tenanted. I don't know whether, Lucy, you wanted to add anything other on top of that in terms of how important it is for someone to have choice when their kind of needs are changing and things are a lot more limited as you either get older or your needs change.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, historically, there isn't a lot of choice when it comes to a lot of adaptations, and partly that is about who is putting those adaptations in. If you had a pot of money that was bottomless, yes, you can buy some very, 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 very high range pieces of equipment and adaptations to be put in. But that's where Invisible Creations come in, because they are creating adaptations and rails, and we are designing new things that are in the pipeline, which will give more choice in terms of colours and give more choice in terms of giving the option and moving away from your stereotypical white plastic grab rails, or rubber coated external grab rails, or those lovely drain pipe external rails that get put in at front doors and at ramps.
Thanks, Lucy. And I think we've had a couple of comments just to say that, they like the look of the adaptations, and that's great feedback for us, because one thing that we wanted to do was really move away from those clinical products that have a lot of negative stigma. We wanted these products just to be, items that anyone could be proud to have in their home, that don't scream out that they are an adaptation. So thank you for that really nice feedback. And I think there's just one more comment from Gabby there.
Laura, is there anything on the key safe? I'm just thinking that one thing that the audience might be interested in is there's more products than just shown on some of the slides that are coming through the partnership with ProCare, and so the team are constantly looking at what the product range should be for the future, and are working with residents and wonderful colleagues like Lucy with her experience on what it is that people want. And I think that key safe is a really important one.
Yeah, definitely. I think Yvonne touched upon it then. One of the things that we're really keen on is co-design, which is why we've kind of brought Lucy on board from an occupational therapist point of view. We work with a lot of tenants, a lot of older people, a lot of people that have specific needs, so that we can really get the product range right. The products that we have currently are that kind of early intervention stage. We are really looking at it from a prevention point of view, but we have started to look at adapting the products that we have so that we cover more elements of the bathroom, so that we cover more elements of the house. The plan really is to have a full holistic solution that is a fully accessible home, but it doesn't have any of those stigmatized products within it. The external of the property was a big one for us. A lot of properties with a grab rail or with a key safe tend to be a huge target for doorstep crime. So I know the key safe is one that comes up quite a lot. So we kind of first tackled the grab rail and we came up with our plant pot solution. The next one on the list, I know for Paul, who's our head of product design, is to look at the key safe and see actually how can we safely disguise that product, so that we can come up with a solution that, again, doesn't have that stigma attached to it. So it is on our list. It is in the kind of product development pipeline, as is a whole host of other bathroom products, so that as their needs get greater, they're not having to stick kind of a plastic rail in a bathroom that's got some really nice inclusive products in. So that is all in the pipeline currently. And we are partnered with ProCare to kind of cover that gap of providing a full accessible bathroom that's got that inclusive, desirable approach to it.
There are some really exciting and very nice looking products in the pipeline that we're working on at the moment. So I'm really excited to see them come to fruition and to get them out there.
And I think, I mean, we are at probably 5 minutes ahead of finishing, but I think if we haven't got any other questions, if there's anything else, Yvonne, Lucy, you want to add, I'm quite happy to give everyone a little early finish. I'm sure it's been intense Zoom days for everyone. So unless there's anything else.
Not from me.
No, not from me. Thanks, Helen, for your comments on the Q&A. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I say, we have got a stand, ProCare Invisible Creations, if you'd like to come along and talk to us. We have got a lot of our stuff is shared on social, on the Invisible Creations Twitter page and LinkedIn, and our website's also on the bottom of this slide if you did want to look at anything in more detail and get in touch. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to speak to you very soon. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
I'm good to the Zoom
Bye.
way. That's just what I do now.
Deal.
Bye.